Meanwhile, a group of Republicans from a different House committee were pushing for their own investigation. Their report levels accusation upon accusation against ACORN and its affiliates, including allegations of criminal activity, that ACORN is guilty of voter registration fraud on a nationwide scale, that ACORN and its affiliates broke tax laws by diverting taxpayer and tax-exempt monies into partisan political activities, by improperly campaigning to elect Democratic candidates, by improper lobbying, by its involvement with the Obama campaign in 2008, and by keeping donor records from the Clinton, Kerry, and Obama campaigns with the intent to engage in prohibited communications. The report alleges ACORN also broke tax laws when it failed to disclose Dale Rathke's embezzlement to the IRS, and then violated employee benefits rights by advancing a large sum of money from a health care benefits fund to cover the shortfall caused by the embezzlement. The Republican allegations go on for more than 70 pages and conclude by suggesting that ACORN may be intentionally structured as a criminal enterprise. This report has claims of racketeering, fraud, and embezzlement, charges that would normally put people in prison. Are they going there?
No, they're not. And it's one of our disappointments.
Congressman Darrell Issa is the ranking member of the committee whose Republican staff wrote the report. Issa released it in July, but it didn't move Congress any closer to an investigation of ACORN. Then came these undercover videos from the website biggovernment.com. Shot in multiple cities, they revealed employees of ACORN Housing, an organization that's received millions of taxpayer dollars, allegedly giving advice on how to cheat the IRS, get away with prostitution.
If you say prostitution, because it's illegal, you're going to get shut down.
And traffic in underage girls.
So you can use them as a dependent.
And setting up a brothel in the very community ACORN's supposed to be organizing.
It's your business, it's your house.
ACORN suggested the tapes were doctored, then fired the employees involved. It said it was the victim of right-wing attacks, but agreed to conduct an internal investigation. Nothing ACORN said seemed able to stop the erosion of support. The U.S. Census Bureau and the IRS announced they were cutting ties with them. One of its largest corporate benefactors, Bank of America, announced they are suspending their commitments to ACORN Housing. And the Department of Justice Inspector General, the governors of California, Minnesota, and Louisiana, the Brooklyn, New York DA's office, and Maryland Attorney General all announced they were initiating investigations. Maryland's Attorney General is also investigating whether the filmmaker broke state laws by making the secret recordings. What have we learned in the last couple of weeks?
Well, we've learned that 6 months of thoughtful research and 88 pages of truth on real problems with an organization doesn't really give you the kind of results that a salacious video about child prostitution does.
On September 17th, the House voted overwhelmingly, 345 to 75, to stop any more tax money from going to ACORN.
It's been utterly dramatic. I did not believe the House would vote to unfund ACORN, but they did. That's how much the political wheel has turned in the United States because of the revulsion of the things that we saw on television.
Judiciary Committee Chairman John Conyers, who previously suggested an ACORN investigation and then backed off, voted to bar federal funding for the organization.
It may be that ACORN is guilty of various infractions, and if so, it ought to be investigated.
Among the 75 Democrats who opposed the ban, Gerald Nadler, who argued it was unconstitutional.
Congress must not be in the business of punishing individual organizations or people without trial.
This shows you just how deeply important ACORN is to some Democratic members, that they're willing to make what are laughable statements, and sadly laughable statements, about the constitutionality of whether taxpayers' money has a right to go to anybody.
Over the last 2 weeks, the Senate also voted overwhelmingly to remove ACORN funding from spending bills covering the Departments of Housing and Urban Development, Interior, and Defense. We tried to talk to key Democrats in both houses, Senate Majority Leader Harry Reid, House Speaker Nancy Pelosi, as well as Representatives Nadler and Conyers. None would agree to an interview with us on this subject. We also tried to ask the president. The biggest question for him, would he support legislation ending all taxpayer support of ACORN? The president did not reply to our request, but he did answer that question for another network.
Frankly, it's not really something I followed closely. I didn't even know that ACORN was getting a whole lot of federal money. You know, what I know is that what I saw on that video was certainly inappropriate.
I would only say that here in Washington, when somebody benefits you, your political ideology, typically you come together. When they become an anchor dragging you down, it's good politics to cut them loose. And I think President Obama would be smart to recognize that this is now an anchor that could bring him